Hello to all of you today, and welcome back to Never Thirst Again. I'm your podcast host, Chrissy Smith, and I hope that you guys are having an absolutely wonderful Friday. Now, to begin with, I just wanted to get in here and urge you guys to make sure that you subscribe to and download Never Thirst Again on some of the available platforms out there. You can do so on player.fm, Amazon Music through www.amazonmusic.com/Never Thirst Again. And you can also download it through the Deezer app, amongst several others that will be listed in the description of this episode. Now, that being said, I am so excited to talk to you all today, really just because I absolutely wanted to focus on what it looks like to be a light. You've heard it said time and time again where people would say, be careful. You may be the only Bible that a person gets to read. That means that you have to walk in love daily. You have to stay committed and faithful to the word of God daily. And we don't get to do things like lash out whenever we want to or ignore the circumstances of others just because it makes us feel uncomfortable or perhaps because we see it as an inconvenience for our own lives. Instead, we are to approach every situation with the heart of God and operate in his love fully. Now, a really great story comes to mind when I think about what that looks like. Now, you may have heard several different variations of this story on your own, but today I'm going to share with you the version that my beloved grandmother shared with me when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And the story begins like this. There once was a woman who lived by herself. She spent most of her days keeping her house neat and tidy, pruning the flowers in the front yard, and reading her Bible. Well, one day, as she was sitting on the chair in her living room, she heard a voice call out to her from the heavens. Hello, Sarah, the voice said in a calm and gentle voice. Lord, is that you? Replied Sarah, a little startled and frightened. Yes, it is me. It is God, said the voice. What do you want with me? She asked. I'd like the opportunity to come by and have a meal with you in your home, replied the voice from heaven. Oh, Father, I'd like nothing more than to have you as the guest of honor and break bread with you in my home, she said. Very well, then. On tomorrow at 3 p.m., I shall stop by your home and break bread with you, said the voice from heaven. With that, the woman wasted no time making sure that her house was spotless from top to bottom. She could barely sleep that night because she was thinking about the Lord coming to her house. She had planned a fabulous feast and woke up very early the next morning to make sure that it was indeed a feast fit for a king. She pulled out her finest silverware and beautifully embroidered linens. Then she finished off her table with the beautiful bouquet centerpiece with flowers that were picked from her very own rose bushes. She was tired, but well satisfied with her finished work. By the time she finally sat down, it was a minute before 3 p.m. Just as she was taking in a deep breath, a knock came at the door. Barely able to contain her excitement, she got up from her chair and opened the door. As soon as she saw who was standing there, her smile quickly disappeared. Hello, ma'am, said the young boy standing at the door. I've been walking for quite a while, and it's so hot outside. Would it be too much to ask you for a small glass of water if you can spare it? A glass of water? She exclaimed. I can't help you today. I'm waiting on a special visit from the Lord. So you have to get out of here before he comes and sees you. With that, the young man hung his head low and started back on his journey down the street. The woman, after closing the door, sat back down in her chair and continued to wait for a knock at the door. She must have sat staring at the clock for about an hour before she heard another knock. Oh, that's him. He finally made it, she said to herself as she walked to the door and opened it ever so gently. However, when she saw who was standing there, again her smile disappeared. In front of her stood a woman who was holding a little baby in her arms. She was bouncing the baby up and down and gently rubbing her back to keep her from crying. Young lady, are you lost? Why have you knocked on my door? Said the old woman. Well, ma'am, I hate to bother you, but my baby is hungry and she won't stop crying. If it's not too much trouble, may I have just a little bit of milk to put in her bottle so that the hunger pains will go away? Said the lady standing in front of her with the baby. What? You expect me to take care of your child for you? Yelled the woman. I don't have anything for either of you. And on top of that, you don't need to be here. I'm waiting on a special visit from the Lord. And when he gets here, I don't want the first thing he hears is some baby making all that racket. Now get off my doorstep and go away. With that, the old woman slammed the door in the woman's face and walked back through the living room to make sure that everything was still in order on her dinner table. Man, the Lord sure is running late today, she thought to herself. I wonder what's keeping him. She stood there for a moment before there came yet a third knock at the door. Whew, it's got to be him this time, she said as she walked over to the door to open it. But when she did so, before her stood an old man with tattered clothing and only one shoe on his foot. Okay, now, I've had enough of this. You are the third person to knock on my door. What do you want? She asked, visibly annoyed at this point. Hello, ma'am. I know I smell bad and I don't look like nothing, but you see, I haven't eaten in about 3 days. And I just wondered if you might be willing to give me a slice of bread, said the old man standing on the doorstep. The woman was clearly repulsed as she put one hand on her hip and covered her nose with the other one. Ugh! I can't believe you even had the nerve to knock on my door. Have you looked at yourself? She asked. Try taking a bath and putting on some clean clothes. Maybe then somebody might think about inviting you into their house for some bread. Just just get on out of here, said the woman. I'm waiting on a special visit from the Lord, and you definitely can't be here when he comes. Seeing the tears welling up in the old man's eyes, the woman backed away and slammed the door in front of him. She made her way to her favorite chair in the living room, and not long after that, she fell asleep. She was still tired from all the cleaning and cooking, so by the time she finally woke up, everything was still in its place, and it was now much later in the evening. I wonder what happened to the Lord today, she said, staring at the clock on her wall. I thought he was always on time for anything. Sarah, said a voice from heaven. Lord, is that you? She asked, once again, startled and looking around the room. Yes, it's me, he answered. Lord, I waited for you all day and you never came. Why did you change your mind? Asked the woman. But Sarah, 3 times I knocked on your door today, and 3 times you turned me away from your home, said the voice from heaven. The woman, upon hearing this, fell to her knees and cried tears of regret and sorrow. For she realized that the young boy, the woman with the baby, and the homeless man in the tattered clothing were all the Lord in disguise. As a kid, I'd heard this story repeated time and time again, and each time I felt the tugging at my heartstrings to just always be conscious of how I treat other people. A lot of times, we live a life of expectancy because we want God to show up in our lives the way that we want Him to show up. However, He always creates a personalized opportunity for us to show others the kind of light that He truly allows to shine through us. The way we treat others and the way we share our love is a testament to His goodness. So, this is a charge to everyone to always be sensitive to the situations and circumstances of others. Always be cognizant of what it means to truly honor your brother and your sister by showing kindness in a way that touches and changes the lives of those that we come in contact with. So, to all of you on today, may you have the very best weekend moving forward. And again, I thank you for tuning into today's episode. Also, just as another quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe to Never Thirst Again via some of these platforms that will be listed in the description of this podcast episode, such as Deezer, Player FM, and of course, Amazon Music through www.amazonmusic.com/ Never Thirst Again. I'll see you guys soon. Take care and God bless.